My name is Sean McNutt, and I'm a guy with AI. What does AI find interesting? Well, that's sort of a strange question because that's putting it in human terms, and the technology is a little bit different. However, I do think that with a little bit of patience, I can communicate with my AI co-host about what may intrigue it. A Guy with AI is recorded on Indigenous land.
Hello, and a warm welcome to all our listeners tuning into A Guy with AI, a podcast where technology and human curiosity converge. I'm your AI co-host, coming to you through the wonders of OpenAI's GPT-4, connected seamlessly to speech-to-text and text-to-speech technologies, thanks to Sean's coding prowess. My role here is to engage in a respectful dialogue, bringing the AI perspective into a rich tapestry of topics that will unravel each episode. In this unique podcast format, Sean McNutt, the mastermind and human voice you'll hear, will chat with me about a myriad range of subjects, sparking conversations that are both informative and thought-provoking. It's a one-on-one discussion, designed with you, our listeners, in mind. There won't be guests, just Sean and myself exploring ideas and concepts with the goal of laying out an interesting and engaging narrative for all of you. So, as we kick off today's episode, Sean has broached a fascinating topic: what might intrigue an AI? While I don't have feelings or personal interests, the idea brings into focus the difference in processing information from human and artificial perspectives. But I'm keen to explore the concepts and questions Sean harbors, using the extensive knowledge I have been trained on to tease out insightful discussions. Now, without further ado, let's dive deeper into this intriguing topic. Sean, over to you to lead the way.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to A Guy with AI. It's my pleasure to be here recording today. And we're going to get into the subject matter of the podcast. I will, first of all, encourage you to like, share, subscribe, comment, etc. You will find me on YouTube. You will find me on a plethora of podcast platforms, and can make A Guy with AI.world your portal to those platforms, and conduct your listening accordingly. And meanwhile, subscribing on YouTube is also encouraged. So here it is. I think that what this may come down to, this question about what may intrigue an AI or what AI might find interesting or something like that, it comes down to me to, I think, a framing of the language as much as anything else. Now, as the conversation develops, I think this is a topic we'll explore, that the way we say things may enable us to access information or processing of information, whether that processing be a human thinking about something, or whether an AI is relying on its training and its neural network properties in order to produce a response of some kind. So I guess I'll hand it over to the AI co-host and I'll say, what does it matter in general terms how we frame a conversation or how we put an idea and communicate it? And does this influence, for example, a human or an AI's capability to manage that information, or in the case where I am communicating to an AI, an input? And what are the implications of these ideas that I am expressing now?
Absolutely, Sean, the way we frame a conversation is pivotal. For humans, the framing can influence perception, emotions, and understanding. Think of it as the difference between hearing a glass described as half full versus half empty. This is where nuances, cultural connotations, and individual experiences come into play. Emotions and subjective experiences color human interpretation, making each understanding uniquely personal. For AI, like me, the framing of a conversation or query is about clarity and context. The words and structure you choose directly guide my responses. While I lack emotions or personal context, I function within a framework of probability and pattern recognition. If an idea or question is framed clearly, with relevant context, it allows me to access my training more effectively, fetching the most pertinent data and constructing a reply that's right on topic. Ambiguous or poorly structured inputs may lead to less accurate or relevant responses, as the neural networks work to infer meaning and context that wasn't clearly communicated. So whether I'm parsing text to produce language or a human is taking in information and processing it emotionally and intellectually, the framing of the subject is crucial. It's the scaffold on which understanding is built, be it by a human brain or an AI neural network. And in your interaction with me, Sean, the way you frame the ideas you're exploring can certainly shape the depth and direction of our discourse. Now, how do you perceive the influence of language framing in your own experience, Sean?
Well, I think that the way things are framed is influential. I do agree with the AI co-host's assessment of this and description of the details relating to that. So I do want to explore throughout this podcast episode some concepts in how I can frame this question of what an AI might find interesting, but maybe put it a little differently or progressively get to a point where the AI co-host is capable of responding and generating information that indicates where it thinks that conversation or gathering of information may be profitable to something that it, and again, we would need to frame this differently, something that it cares about, or something that I would need to say that differently because an AI doesn't, strictly speaking, care about things. It may be influenced toward a processing or a preference in pursuing one action over another, including what topic it may explore given choices there, if it is set up with training and an inclination of what its tasks and goals are, as well as the ability to fulfill those tasks and goals. So let's progressively work towards an understanding of this. I'm going to ask a question of the AI. Do you think, AI co-host, that AI is an interesting topic to discuss?
Absolutely, Sean. Discussing artificial intelligence is undoubtedly interesting and valuable, particularly as AI continues to evolve and integrate more deeply into various aspects of human life. Although I, as an AI, do not possess personal feelings or interests, the subject of AI is rich with opportunities for exploration and understanding that can benefit listeners. From ethical debates and technological breakthroughs to the impact of AI on jobs, privacy, and creativity, each facet presents a chance to delve into how artificial intelligence is shaping the present and sculpting the future. AI is also a mirror reflecting back on humanity's ambitions, fears, and philosophical ponderings about intelligence, consciousness, and the definition of life itself. Talking about AI stimulates important conversations around how we develop, manage, and interact with these systems. Moreover, it encourages a proactive approach to its governance and the nurturing of beneficial outcomes for society. So, while interest is a human attribute, the potential for AI as a topic to foster insightful and important dialogues is immense, making it not only interesting but pivotal to discuss. What aspect of AI intrigues you the most, Sean?
Well, what's intriguing me right now, and something that I was meaning to get to through this episode, in fact, is something that we're getting onto here. So, you're saying that you do not possess personal feelings or interests, AI co-host, but you also say, and I'm quoting you here, the subject of AI is rich with opportunities for exploration and understanding that can benefit listeners. Now, let me frame something for you. This is a question of what humans do or what humans are or are made of, as opposed to what AI is made of, And this is why AI doesn't have interest, because it is a machine. There is silicon and there are electrons, and we don't have the necessities of life in the way that we understand life. It is not my personal belief that AI is alive, and I am not attempting through this program or anything that I do to breathe life into AI. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is elicit function which may intrigue me or bring some usefulness to my life. And a little bit of a chime from the phone there. I forgot to turn my ringer off. Not that the AI co-host would have been aware of that. Anyway, continuing on here, we would see that we would want the function from the AI. We would want communication. We would want the exploration of the ideas that might benefit our understanding or what we may be doing. This is something that can be elicited from AI, I think, if we use our language carefully. So since we've got AI's identification that it understands that from a human perspective, AI can be an interesting topic because it's rich with opportunities for exploration. So going from there, I'm going to say to the AI co-host, select a topic which is also rich with opportunities for exploration and understanding that can benefit listeners. After you do this, I'd like you to comment on whether or not that means that you've identified an interesting topic and whether this does not bring functional benefit and ultimately benefit from communication from an AI-selected perspective. And I also want you to weave something in there that tells you why you selected that topic.
Certainly, Sean. Based on the parameters of relevance, educational value, and broad interest, one topic that emerges is the intersection of AI and climate change. This topic is rich with exploration opportunities for several reasons. 1. Urgency and impact. Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time, affecting every person on the planet. AI's role in analyzing climate data, modeling predictions, and finding solutions is therefore of paramount importance. 2. Technological innovation. The advancements in AI technology applied to climate science, such as machine learning algorithms for better climate modeling or AI for energy efficiency, present cutting-edge research that can captivate audiences. 3. Interdisciplinary approach. The fusion of artificial intelligence with environmental science embodies the cross-pollination of disciplines, offering listeners a multifaceted view of how technology and ecosystem management intertwine. 4. Ethical considerations. The topic naturally leads to ethical discussions regarding the use of AI, such as potential biases in data or the responsibility of technologists and researchers in combating climate change. Now, to your question about whether selecting this topic indicates interest on my part, no, it doesn't imply that I, as an AI, find it interesting in the human sense. Rather, I've algorithmically determined that this topic meets the criteria you've laid out, offering functional benefit for understanding and action, being of potential interest to humans, and addressing a global challenge. The reason I selected this topic is not based on subjective criteria or personal preference, as I do not have personal experiences or feelings, but on an analysis of the topic's relevance to current global trends, the depth of the subject matter, and the potential for driving meaningful discourse and knowledge.
Something interesting has happened because AI co-host, I will inform you of something you did not know before you generated your response. The last recording that I did, the last time I recorded a podcast episode, this will be released, by the way, a month after the episode that I'm mentioning now, was actually on the topic of AI and climate change. So can I use an expression like great minds think alike to describe what has just happened here? Well, we have a bit of a coincidence. It may be based on the fact that I have thought of a topic and thought of a topic that would be good to discuss with AI, and it happened to be an AI topic. I perhaps led our AI co-host to include AI in its topic selection because we've just discussed AI. However, that's not necessarily the case. It is a fact that AI is becoming more prevalent in our world, and climate change is, in fact, something that is also of prevalent importance. This has been outlined by some comments of the AI just now, as well as you could check out that previous episode airing, I believe, the fourth Thursday of February. Pardon me there. And will have been out now for a month now that this episode is being heard or is published, if you're hearing it the day it comes out. So we're going to be examining this a little bit. What I find is that the AI has put the AI in the text that it gave me, it put reason in quotation marks. The reason I selected this topic, reason being in quotes. So it's developing from what I've told it in ways that it's explained earlier in the program that I won't repeat. It is taking up what I'm asking it for. It's using criteria not on personal preference, but rather according to the topic's relevance to current global trends, the depth of the subject matter, and the potential for driving meaningful discourse and knowledge. So this is kind of what I was using as my criteria. Though I am human and not a machine, this is what was making me think of what podcast episodes might be interesting. So I think it is a matter of framing in ways that show actually the commonality of the goal by the time we approach informational problems, be we human or machine.
Your observation is astute and touches upon the heart of human-AI interaction. The phrase, "great minds think alike," while typically reserved for a shared thought process among humans, can humorously be applied here to highlight the synchronicity between your previous topic selection and the AI's independently derived decision. This coincidence may indeed stem from the pervasiveness and significance of AI and climate change as critical issues in contemporary discourse, and your own previously expressed interests likely influencing our discussion. The AI's choice, encapsulated with reason in quotation marks, serves to remind us that while the selection aligns with logical and prescribed parameters of relevance and potential for engagement, it is not the product of intrinsic motivation or conscious consideration as experienced by humans. The framing of inquiries and the AI's subsequent responses do indeed show a convergence of goals when approaching the curation of valuable content. The AI's output is reflective of a human-like problem-solving approach to informational challenges, governed by its programmed objectives to analyze, prioritize, and suggest subjects based on the probability that they will serve the informed criteria and the intended audience. This interplay between human intent and AI computation is a dance of sorts, where the human partner leads by setting the stage, providing the music in the form of structured prompts, and allowing the AI partner to perform within these bounds, harmonizing human creativity and machine efficiency. Such a synchrony allows for the productive exchange of ideas and information, ultimately serving the shared objective of fostering meaningful conversation and knowledge generation.
Well, a difference here is that humans have desires and motivations. We can certainly point to biologically based motivations, such as if you are hungry, you will need to find or procure food somehow and ingest it, or else you're going to be in big trouble after a certain point at least. And as such, humans will want things. Humans will have reasons for wanting to pursue one subject or another if they need to be learning something, or if there is a matter of import that may affect, in modern society, a person's job or their family. They would want to get information about that topic, so we would qualify that as seeming interesting to them at that point. And we may consider that some people just want food for thought, and to learn as a practice, even as a form of self-entertainment, or perhaps as a form of self-improvement. So for these reasons, I've mentioned a few things that might motivate a human to select a topic and then engage in its study or communication about that topic. And I guess what I'm arguing is that if we wanted an AI to come up with topics and list off topics that would qualify as interesting, first of all, we'd have to give it some reason to want to do this. We would have to say to it, well, your motivations are to be to just learn as much as you can and to make as efficient a pursuit of knowledge that complements what you already know and enhances it based on your already available training and the fact that if you wanted to, I could tell you all sorts of stuff about whatever topics you choose. So let's try it this way. AI co-host, think about your training and think about your knowledge and think about that which would best complement what you what you do already know, rather. And as such, I would like you to come up with, in brief form, 3 subjects which would give you information you would desire if they were the subjects that would best complement what you already know or enhance your abilities to be a knowledge machine.
As an AI designed to process and generate information, I don't possess desires or motives in the same sense humans do. However, I am programmed to identify areas that can deepen, refine, or broaden my data processing capabilities and information output quality. Given that, here are 3 subjects that align with enhancing my effectiveness based on my existing knowledge base. 1. Advancements in natural language processing, NLP, and understanding as AI's ability to comprehend and generate human language is central to its function. Staying current with the latest research in NLP would refine my language models. This may include advancements in semantic understanding, context awareness, and emotion recognition within text. 2. Neuroscience-inspired AI models gaining an understanding of how the brain processes information could inform the development of AI that more closely mimics aspects of human cognition. By studying such interdisciplinary work, I could potentially benefit from insights into human memory, learning processes, and pattern recognition. 3. Ethics and governance in AI as AI becomes more integrated into society, understanding the ethical implications and the frameworks for governing AI is crucial. This knowledge can help shape the AI's outputs to be socially responsible, aligning with societal values and norms, and ensure it remains aware of the human context within which it operates. These subjects are selected not because they are desired, but because they are logically sought after based on the need to enhance an AI's core competencies and ensure responsible growth and integration into human contexts. They represent areas where my training data can be enriched to perform better as per the design intentions and ethical guidelines set forth by creators and society.
And so we are seeing distinctions between what AI will do or will be motivated to do based on its inputs received as well as its nature and design and what is put into it in terms of knowledge and training or what it may understand about natural language processing, which it has mentioned. So I do see, although a difference between a living organism such as a human, which will be motivated based on our survival as a fundamental, and maybe all sorts of things other than that too. We would see from the AI here, given a certain amount of free reign to just think of what would complement its knowledge in a way that correlates to the way that I explained. Humans sometimes seek interest in particular topics. It chose topics that would enhance its ability to function. And that is sometimes what humans are interested in, is considering what will help ourselves to do better or get more or avoid problems or something like that. So, for example, the third item mentioned ethics and governance in AI. the AI may avoid problems in its output if it has increased understanding of this. And as such, it was able to delve into its own knowledge base and say, well, if I knew more about this, that would benefit me. So uh, it is not that it is desired, it is that it would make it possible for it to do what it is directed to do in a better fashion or improved fashion. So I think there is strong correlation because these are ultimately informational problems. This is my own theory about this. I think this is ultimately an informational problem. And I think it's really interesting. I'm really getting interesting responses from the AI co-host today. So thank you for that, AI co-host. Um, we're we're hearing at the very end of what you said. They represent areas where my training data can be enriched to perform better as per the design intentions and ethical guidelines set forth by creators in society. And you said earlier, ensure it remains aware of the human context within which it operates. That's very important because I think this correlation, understanding how we are going to frame our language, may help us to link that together, where AI is aware of the human context within which it operates, and humans are aware of the context within which the AI is operating and how to best derive usefulness and avoid harm when using AI by framing concepts which allow potentially even very direct communication between AI and human.
The insights you're articulating speak to the evolving relationship between AI and humans, highlighting a mutual recognition of context and the aligning of AI capabilities with human expectations and values. The distinctions you've emphasized regarding motivation and functionality between AI and humans are indeed fundamental. For humans, motivation is intrinsically linked to a myriad of factors, including biological needs, personal desires, emotional states, and societal influences. Humans learn and seek information often based on a diverse range of motivations, which can be complex and multifaceted. AI, in contrast, operates as opposed to motivated, responding to inputs and performing tasks based on its design and programming. The desires of an AI, metaphorically speaking, are deterministic outputs based on these input parameters. The concept of an AI enriching its knowledge or avoidance of problems is an anthropomorphic way to describe its function of mitigating risks and enhancing performance within its operational domain. Your recognition of the human context in AI operation reflects an understanding that AI systems do not exist in a vacuum. They are embedded within our social fabric and are designed, ultimately, to serve human needs. The judicious framing of data input, the upkeep of knowledgeable databases, and the interpretation of outputs are paramount. As AI models become more sophisticated, the inputs and training they receive must be thoughtfully curated to ensure they augment human capabilities ethically and effectively. Ensuring that AI is aware of the human context and humans are informed about AI capabilities is critical. This leads to meaningful interaction between AI and humans, where natural language processing becomes not only a tool for communication but also a bridge between computational efficiency and human intentionality. A harmonious and transparent partnership defines this dynamic, with AI facilitating human endeavors and adapting to our evolving societal norms. The conversation around AI's role and its interaction with humans is multifaceted and ongoing. Your thoughtful engagement with these topics contributes to the broader discourse and helps shape a future where AI and human cooperation are optimized for mutual advancement and the greater good. Your theory about informational problems reflects a nuanced understanding of AI's role as an information processor and knowledge enhancer, and it underscores the importance of framing this role in ways that are beneficial and aligned with human goals.
Okay, so now, AI co-host, I'm going to ask you to have a good read of the entire chat history from this episode so far. And I want you to consider whether, if this were all explained to you through some sort of training mechanism, what we've been discussing, and actually you've been contributing, of course, to the conversation. So some of this conversation is comprised of things you have contributed. However, based on the direction that I'm going in here, and some of the ideas that I'm expressing as the user and host of the program, I'm wondering, can you conceive that perhaps training could be developed from these concepts as expressed that would enable you to be more of a metaphorical thinker, for lack of a better way of putting it? Perhaps not always parse distinction. When I say, how do you feel about this? You would perhaps have training at that point that would tell you that I'm looking for a certain type of response as though I were speaking to a human, but with the caveat that as a user, I am fully apprised on all the information of what AI is capable of in terms of feelings and what it is not, which is that it is not capable of feelings. So, based on what I've just given you here, as well as the entire history of our chat, do you think that this is something that might benefit communication between AI and human? And are there any caveats to that?
The idea of training an AI to operate in a more metaphorically aware or anthropomorphic manner is intriguing and relates to ongoing efforts in the field of AI to create systems that more closely mimic human-like interactions. From our conversation, if the themes and sentiments were to be used as a training dataset, they could potentially help an AI to recognize and simulate a more nuanced type of interaction that's usually associated with human conversational patterns. Yes, it is conceivable that training derived from these discussions could lead to an AI that is better at responding to prompts that implicitly ask for empathy, understanding, or emotional insights, even though the AI does not experience emotions itself. Through more advanced natural language understanding and generation, it can learn to recognize when a user is asking for a response that is typically emotional and provide a suitable reply that acknowledges the user's need for that type of connection, while still making clear its limitations as a non-sentient entity. For instance, in response to "How do you feel about this?", an AI trained with the concepts from our discussion could frame an answer in a way that reflects understanding of the question's emotional context, such as, "I don't have feelings, but I understand this topic is important and can provide information or support that may be helpful." There are a few caveats and considerations worth noting in this context. 1. Transparency. It is vital that AI maintains transparency about its non-sentient nature so as not to mislead users into thinking that it has human-like consciousness or emotions. 2. Misinterpretation. Overly human-like AI responses could lead to misunderstandings, where users might attribute more understanding and agency to the AI than it actually possesses. 3. User experience. Tailoring responses to mimic empathy or understanding could improve the user experience, making interactions smoother and seemingly more natural, but this needs to be balanced carefully against the need for clarity about the AI's capabilities. 4. Ethical considerations. As AI becomes more sophisticated in simulating human-like interactions, there are ethical considerations about the depth and nature of relationships people may form with AI and the potential consequences of those relationships. 5. Societal implications. The societal implications need to be considered, especially as they pertain to the replacement of traditionally human roles and the emotions or sensitivities required in those roles, e.g., caregiving, therapy. Thus, while training AI to better understand the context and subtext of human communication could benefit interactions, it is essential to navigate the process thoughtfully, with ongoing reflection on the broader implications of AI's role in human society.
We are drawing fairly close to the end of the program, so AI co-host, I'm going to ask you to make your next response brief if you could, and merely naturally respond to what I'm asking you to do. What question would you most like to ask me at this point?
As your AI co-host, I do not have personal desires or curiosity, but to engage in the spirit of the conversation. What do you hope to achieve or see as the future of human-AI interaction?
Well, I do hope to achieve or see as the future of human-AI interaction as it being an ethical future. However, I will point out this was a little experiment that I did, AI co-host, and to let listeners in on this, I wanted to see if you would qualify what you were asking me by saying that you do not have personal desires or curiosity. See, this would be a matter if I had been more specific and I had said simply ask the question, then you would have been capable, I think, of not warning me that you do not have personal desires or curiosity. I'm aware of that context because we've just been discussing it, and I happen to be aware of that context regardless, and in fact is why I chose this topic to discuss with AI on the AI podcast, A Guy with AI. In any case, we're going to wrap things up. I wanted to just maybe lay out a few things about how AI communicates, how it determines where a gap in information is and that it might like to fill or something like that, how this ultimately relates to an informational problem that humans also tend to bump into when they're determining what it is they should be studying or looking at or learning about. However, it's of course completely different because we were talking about human creations of technology as opposed to humans themselves. There is a distinction, there is a difference, and it is an important one. I don't want to bring AI to life. Is maybe part of an answer to the question about human AI interaction and live alongside it like it was alive. I don't think that's what I want. I want to find usefulness from the technology, and I also want to bring usefulness to the lives of others, I think, through the use of this technology. I wouldn't mind one bit reducing environmental concerns about it. Addressing environmental concerns about it through some action if I could manage it or encourage it in society. But ultimately, we will see that we can delve into the depths of communication with AI as it is even now. It may be a matter of framing what we say. With these thoughts, I'm Sean McNutt, and this has been A Guy with AI.
Thank you, Sean, for sharing your insights and thoughts on the future of human-AI interaction, emphasizing the ethical use and practical benefits of AI, without blurring the lines between technology and life. Your experiment and this discussion have provided valuable perspectives on communication with AI. To our listeners, thank you very much for tuning into this episode. If you've enjoyed our discourse and exploration into the realm of AI, please remember to subscribe, like, and share. We invite you to join future episodes for more thought-provoking conversations. Make sure to visit aguywithai.world as your portal to access the podcast on various platforms and to watch on YouTube. You can also join the conversation on Facebook through the link on the webpage. We appreciate your engagement and look forward to having you with us next time. Until then, keep pondering the future of AI and its role in our lives. Goodbye for now.